Welcome to this episode of the Real Africa podcast. Today we are not reviewing a film. We are going to be reviewing so many films by the one Dilman, our guest as well. And yes, with me today,
David Cecil, and I'm a friend of Dilman, I think, from a long time ago, and it's a real pleasure to have him on the Real Africa. So Dilman, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, so I'm Dilman Dila. I'm mostly a writer and a filmmaker, and I've been doing this for a long time now. It struck me recently that, the first film I made, 2007, it's going to be 20 years next year. And I was thinking of doing a kind of, celebration kind of something. So I've made a lot of films, and yeah, I'm happy to be here to talk about film.
Mm-hmm. Amazing. For me, I find your films really interesting because you don't rely on dialogue all the time. In fact, I would say you're primarily a visual filmmaker. And in the age of soap operas that proliferate, especially like coming from Nigeria and things like that, and a lot of the Ugandan TV, which is very dialogue driven, it's so nice to see a Ugandan filmmaker just telling the story with images, and it's a rare skill. And obviously it's not everyone's cup of tea, but you've got my vote on that. So yeah.
I think part of that was practical because, in Uganda we have many languages. We are not like Kenya or Tanzania where there's Kiswahili. And so if you're looking for actors in a film that, is not in English, you can just say, I'm shooting it in Kiswahili, and you'll get a lot of good actors. But in Uganda, if you're not doing it in English, then you're doing it in a particular language. And the problem is you have to get actors who can speak that language, and then it becomes problematic. So very early on, it was one of the things I was thinking about. I was like, I didn't want to make films in English. Strangely, my 2 feature films are all in English because of the same challenges. But earlier on, I was like, okay, if I'm to make the film, I need actors. So if it's in Luganda, then I have to cast only Luganda-speaking actors. And somebody who's a very good actor but doesn't speak Luganda would have to be left out. Or nowadays I make a lot of films in Acholi, and so I have to be casting only Acholi-speaking actors, which is very complicated. So,
yeah. And is it also about the audience? You'd only be broadcasting to an Acholi audience if you...
No, of course, I think, like you say, film is very visual. And sometimes, if the film is really well made, whatever language is in it, without even subtitles, you will enjoy it. I remember watching this film, I think it's Eat, Drink, Man, Woman. It's a Chinese film. The first time I watched it, about the first 40 minutes without subtitles because I couldn't get the subtitles. But I was enjoying it. I didn't understand everything that was going on. It's a drama, a very slow-moving Chinese drama. So imagine watching that without subtitles, but it was very visual and I was just enjoying the pictures. I was enjoying, the guy was cooking food. He was like a chef. So it started off like a chef show and is making this very huge sumptuous meal and you imagine it's for maybe... for like a 5-star hotel, and then you go to see, it's actually for a small family. And, such small things, they hook you into the story and you're like, what's going on? So even without knowing what was going on, I could feel the story and I could enjoy it. And I think those are the kinds of things I wanted to do when I started out as a filmmaker. I would look for films like that. I think this guy went on to make even bigger films. I think it's the guy who did Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon. Yeah, which I also watched, at one point without subtitles. And then, you still enjoy the film.
That is an action film, to be fair.
Yeah, Crouching Tiger is an action film, but Eat, Drink, Man, Woman, I think it's the same director.
Right. Yeah. I'd love to see that. I'd had that recommended by another person. But yeah, I think we were discussing earlier a film that we're going to review called Seed of the Sacred Fig, which is an Iranian film. and we were chatting about subtitles. And it's very interesting that Kenneth, you said, like, I can't watch this movie without subtitles. And I was saying, give it a chance. It picks up, and but I think it's a testament perhaps to Eat, Drink, Man, Woman, which it's a famous film, isn't it? That you can do a drama without subs. Come on. and I find it very frustrating that people treat film almost like theatre, but not without even the physicality of theatre, It's just like, it's the laziest form of filmmaking in a way, just stick a camera there, let them say the lines.
It's become problematic, and it's not just even in the indie world, because in the indie world, people do that for budget reasons. Like, you can't create an explosion, so you say, "Oh man, the bomb has gone off. We are running." So
the bomb goes off on the phone. Yes.
But I see that also creeping into Hollywood. I mean, the big studio productions, and it's like they are dumping things down nowadays. And there was a film, that's when I stopped actually watching these Avenger things. I don't remember which one it was, but there was a 2-minute section of them explaining the story. I think, no, there was this one where there was a time something.
Yeah, I mean, you're a scriptwriter. I mean...
I'm like, why do I have to...
When we were doing the script for Imperial Blue, I was working with my buddy from London, and like expo was like a curse word. It's like, get rid of it. That's expo. It's like, if you can't explain it visually, maybe it shouldn't be there.
Exactly.
And there are some details that you have to have, but...
Yeah, no, okay. I think in the end, you still want to tell the story, right? I think the first conversation we had, I told you about Nolan does so much. Christopher Nolan does so much of the exposition, but you still can't say his films are bad, right? Like, you understand why they don't win the big awards.
He has super complex ideas.
Yes.
Like Inception, be quite hard to do without a bit of expo.
Yeah. Like, you can't watch Tenet unless someone has told you in the film that things are going to go backwards. Otherwise, it doesn't work.
Let me cut in. Yeah. So Dilman Dila's new short, which I'm not sure if it's publicly available, but the Eve, Little Red
Eve, yeah.
Because that has a super complex plot. And you've got bits of expo, but you use a cunning technique to show it. But it's super complex. It's not a simple short film. It's like got loads of different ideas. But there's like hardly any dialogue. There's like about 5 lines of dialogue in it.
Yeah, mostly TV news.
Mostly TV
where
news.
We did the expo from.
Yeah,
which is kind of acceptable. I mean, somebody's watching TV, and TV we know is...
Has Christopher Nolan called you about...
No, but I don't know. Even with those expos, I've failed. I watched Inception, I don't know how many times before I finally got it. Like 6 or...
Oh, I see. Yeah, but that's the thing is, when it comes to sci-fi, I think the difference between like typical fantasy, watching Game of Thrones, and sci-fi is you want the lies to be consistent with some sort of like physical theory or something like that. And the assumption is not everyone is going to enjoy the film has that knowledge of like usually it's hard science like physics maybe or like biology, so you want to introduce it a little bit. I get that a little bit. I think for me I'm okay with a little bit of that even if I see it. But this conversation, there was a conversation on Joe Rogan with Matt Damon and what's the name? They have a movie on Netflix called R.I.P. What's the other guy? Ben Affleck. And they were explaining the economic, from the data that Netflix has, why the films are what they are today, right? So they're saying because Netflix knows when you start playing, how long you trust the director before you like pause and gun other things, right? So they know at what point to sort of incite. To incite the movie a little bit, right? And some of the time it's going to be maybe putting explosions, but some of the time, what they say they were asked after they submitted the screenplay, that halfway within the script, you have to tell people. You have to give like a recap. Yeah. So we are now here in the story. This is what has happened before. This is what is going to happen.
Right. Wow. Almost like a soap opera. Yeah. Previously on Apocalypse Now. Yeah.
And again, I think part of what they are saying is, I think what they see as the future of streaming, watching movies in at home, when your attention is competing with everything else, is how cleverly people are going to figure out how to do that kind of exposition, right?
Isn't it depressing?
Yeah.
I mean, cinema started at such a high medium, it was an art form. And now it's like they assume everyone who's watching it had the attention span of a butterfly and is doing the ironing, which is more interesting than the film. Anyway, sorry.
Yeah, and I think that's what is killing Hollywood films, honestly, because this paying more attention to data than to the actual film. Because I don't know, in the beginning, when YouTube was just kicking off, they're like, oh, attention spans are short because they didn't have the technology for long form features, for feature films and all that. But then after a while, that dropped off. And then because now they could have longer films on YouTube. But then the problem that I'm seeing with this kind of thing is they trust more to data, and that data doesn't even inform actually what a person or why a person stopped watching at that point. Because in a cinema, you're stuck, and so you watch up to the end. But when you're watching from home, you have the liberty of pausing to go to the bathroom. There are all these distractions which will come. And it's not because the film has bored you, but you want to pee. So you
I know what they're going to answer, I'm afraid. They're going to say, we don't care. Whether you're going for a pee or whether you're bored. But I think for them, the reality of home entertainment is exactly as you said. You're not pinned to your seat. Like you're in a presidential speech or something.
Yeah.
You have to sit there. Don't look away. But you're right. Home entertainment's given rise to this issue, and we are at this interesting time, I think, in the evolution of film, where cinema now has become a separate thing. It's like, this is a cinema film, and you often hear that, right? Yeah. You've got to watch it on the cinema. I know probably some younger people watching this will be like, duh, yeah, I mean, but it wasn't always like that. It was, I think you did have the concept, obviously, of TV movies, and then we used to have what was called straight to video, which in the 80s through to the 90s, when VHS was like really ascendant, and straight to video, was the birth of like this liminal space between TV and cinema, right? Straight to video. And now we live in straight to video world, I think.
And I think that straight to video, it created a lot of genres, like the what was the one from the Scandinavian? It's not cinema verite, but
Dogme.
Dogma, yeah.
Well, maybe. Was that? I know what you mean. I would say that was more a product of like a kind of a nausea against Hollywood and against commercial film. But I think one of your favorite genres came from the straight to video world, which is like kick-ass, low-budget horror movies.
Yeah.
That's your thing.
Yes.
And that's not an insult, right? I mean, I
it's
like
not.
your films.
Because I think, starting with, what was this film? The Blair Witch Project, because that's when the people are like, okay, you can actually make films with low-budget equipment, with very low gear, but still end up making a good film. Like, you don't need the gear to make the film. And I think I started learning film when that kind of ideology was passing around. I think that was the time also this guy, the Mexican Rodriguez, made his film also, the El Mariachi. Yeah. Also still the same concept, low budget, with very small things, and then you end up still telling a good story. And at that time, people had already, because of this straight to video, because the people already used to watching film with that kind of VHS quality. They were not expecting the look of which
12K,
the look of the cinema. There's a certain look in the film,
totally.
Properly lit,
gleaming, glistening with effects.
Exactly, something like that. So I think, and so me coming up, and I think most of my first mentors, they were showing me those films, the Dogma films, Mariachi, Blair Witch, and like, do this, because they knew most of them are from Hollywood, but they knew like, oh, this guy is in Uganda. There's chances of him going to Hollywood are very, Good. Not even slim.
So two questions, one quick one and one longer one. You talk about mentors and you talked about Dogma films as a kind of inspiration. So my quick question is like, which Dogma films would you recommend? And just like maybe 2 or 3, if you can remember. And then my second question is like, what mentors? Tell us about that.
The Dogma films, I actually can't remember them off my head, like El Mariachi or the Blair Witch Project, because there were quite a few of them. It didn't hit off as a genre because I don't remember why, but it came off as a movement, and then after a while it died out. And I don't think there is any film that kind of stood out and say, "Oh, this was a Dogma film that."
Well, two or three of the directors like made it big.
Yeah,
and
but
there was
not
one guy who. So the famous one is Lars von Trier.
Yeah,
and he's now won awards at Cannes. He also made the most scandalous film at Cannes, which is about a nymphomaniac, like a sex addict.
Oh, that's the one. Okay, yeah.
No, that's Soderbergh. Yeah. Do you remember the one? There was one with quite a famous actress. I never saw it, and it's
I think it's called Nymphomaniac. That's the
People walked out at Cannes, but Lars von Trier is brilliant. I mean, made one of the most disturbing films I've ever seen called Antichrist, which blew my mind. Have you seen that?
I've seen it, yes.
Pretty disturbing. Yeah, I couldn't look at a pair of scissors again after seeing it. But then, what about, do you know Thomas Vinterberg? He did a film called Festen, which was his, I think, very famous, and The Idiots. Anyway, it's Dogma. So Dogma is like, for people who don't know, Dogma is like you use only natural light. You don't use artificial lighting. You only use natural sound, what you can capture on your mic. So you don't have like a soundtrack. And you use non-famous actors. So they can be trained actors, but they shouldn't be like Tom Cruise or someone you've heard of. Those were the big ones, weren't they? Those were the big 3 rules they had. There was a few others.
Yeah, I think also in terms of they were trying to do this one-take things.
Yes,
where like
a lot of,
to make you feel like this was not edited, this was like properly. So it was a cross between documentary and there was a very but I can see why it didn't go far, because technology became really cheap. Nowadays you can shoot with cameras like this and still achieve that effect like as if you've shot with natural lighting. But it wasn't possible with the way Hollywood would light films up to that point in studios. Like you could feel, this has been lit. But now with LEDs and all that, the lighting, it feels like it's a natural kind of lighting.
Yeah, but I think there was more. I think it was a spirit as well. I think Dogma was a spirit. And,
exactly.
And, like, if anyone's interested, like Google Dogma, and it's spelled Dogme, isn't it?
M-A.
Is it? No, M-E, I think, because it's not Dogma, it's Dogme. It's an important difference. Meh. Anyway, but the Dogma influenced, maybe he was part of the group, but the Dogma influenced director, who I really, really like, is Nicholas Refn Winding, who his breakout film was called Pusher, about a drug dealer in the streets of Copenhagen. And I think it was 1996 or something. And I saw it with my dad at the cinema when I was like 18. And my dad was really like, don't watch this bit, because it's pretty extreme, but it's also really funny. It's a genuinely like laugh out loud funny film, but it's very violent. It's very messed up. Brilliant film.
I saw that one.
Yeah.
It's like on the edges of my memory.
But I mean, because like when I was teaching at Kampala Film School, I held up Pusher as like an example. It's low budget, no lighting, it's just super simple to make, no famous actors, brilliant story, and I'm interested to hear like about the mentors who recommended this stuff. Oh, by the way, so footnote, Nicholas Refn Winding is now like a massive Hollywood director. He did Drive with Ryan Gosling. He did a few other films that recently aren't so successful, but very good, like Only God Forgives, sort of very violent films. But sorry, mentors, Dogma, what were they teaching you?
No, the mentors, like there was Maisha Film Lab.
So how do you get started? I'm also Maisha alumni, by the way.
Really?
I think that's how we met, I think so. I was in 2011. Is it 2011 or 2013?
2011 I'd gone off like...
Okay, yeah, maybe 2011.
I was there, I think the second lot.
Okay, yeah.
Because they started in 2005. I didn't get into the 2005 lot. I got into the 2006. No. And it's long ago. I can't even remember. Yeah, it was 2006.
It was ages ago.
Yeah, because 2007 is when I made What Happened in Room 13.
Hey,
So it was my second.
Is that your first film?
No, my first professional film.
Okay.
I'd done a few experimental, like 1 minute, 2 minute things. But yeah, that is kind of what I put out as this is my first film. So yeah, the mentors I met, I remember there was Felipe Barbosa. I don't know how far he went with his filmmaking. It's a while since we talked, but he's a Brazilian. And then there was Joshua Maston. Josh, he made this film, Maria Full of Grace. It was kind of an indie film. The last I heard of him, he had made another film that won something at Berlinale. I think The Golden Bear, a few years later. But he is the one who actually was pushing me more into the Dogma things and gave me some of the films. But I think those are the two people who really pushed like for the...
What is your story before that? What pushes into film?
My story, if I start that...
Go on.
No, just immediately.
It's long form, bro. It's long form.
Okay, so what... I was 15 years old.
Oh, okay.
In secondary school. Form 3, actually, third term. And I was reading a book. And exams were like 1 week away, 2 weeks away. So at that point, I was reading a novel. I think it was a Stephen King novel. I don't remember. But Stephen King was one of my favorites at that time. And then this guy was like, he was puzzled because everybody was panicking on notes and what. And me, I was here on like a novel. I had been chopping class almost the whole time. And the guy was like, okay, you don't care about your future. Like, why are you reading a novel instead of, books? And I'm like, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to write novels. And he started laughing. And then he told the whole dormitory, and everybody was laughing at me. And that day, I started writing my first novel. And they were even laughing. And they were like, this guy is mad. But somehow I passed, and I remained in the stream. I don't know if they still do it, but they used to do those streams of very bright students. Ours was M. And I remained in M. And they were all puzzled, like, what trick does this guy use? But now in retrospect, I think it's because, when you read for pleasure, it becomes easier to read for books. And I think that's a trick that people are not teaching their children. If you ever have a child, just make them read novels, not school books. Because, you kind of train your brain to understand better when you watch. So, and I think that's why I would pass. Like I will get their notes. And some of them had this habit, like you don't read before exams because you'll get confused. So they will throw away their notes and then I'll pick and I read.
And then that's a good life hack.
Yeah. And so that's when I started actually writing. Through my senior 4, I remember in senior 4, second term, I ran away from home and from school to Nairobi to have my first book published. Yeah.
Wait, how old were you?
I was 15 years.
16. 16, yeah.
What? 16 years, yeah. Because I got their address on the back of a book and I was like, East African Publishers, Nairobi. I think it was somewhere in Westlands, their offices. So I went with my handwritten book.
Can you just a brief of the journey?
It was a weird, there was
How
a
did you
train.
get out? You were at the boarding school. You jumped out the window?
No.
You walked out the gate?
Oh, it was that boarding school was, it was a jungle kind of, okay, I call it jungle because it wasn't very strict like these other boarding schools. You could walk out anytime, walk in anytime. There was no fence. Sometimes...
Which school was that?
St. Peter's College, Tororo.
Okay.
TC.
Yeah, to have so many friends from there.
Yeah. So, it was so free that sometimes students will go and drink. There was this place we called Kasoli. It was like a slamish area. So students will go and drink in Kasoli. And then they will be staggering back to school drunk. The headmaster comes, finds them, tells them, jump on his car and takes them home and tells, go and sleep, don't disturb people.
Wow.
That is how free the school.
Also, it's so near
amazing.
the border, so that's why
Yeah,
it
it was
makes sense
really
that-
close to the border.
But still, come on.
that's why it makes sense that the idea that he can go to Kenya is even possible.
I'm just sorry, we're massively digressing here, but actually, I find it very interesting that this creative mind came out of that liberal school environment, right? Because that's really unusual for Uganda, no? I mean, like, what I've heard is that Ugandan boarding schools, especially 25, 30 years ago even, were like really heavy discipline. I mean, your backside would be burning for weeks after an escapade like that, normally.
Yeah, I went and I think the whole school knew because nobody could find me. And I came back and not even one teacher called me to the...
Oh, okay. That's actually interesting.
But when you got to the office, East African Publishers.
Yeah, they told me we only take typed manuscripts.
Uh-huh.
Mine was handwritten. So I had to find my way back to Uganda.
Ah,
It's an adventure. I'll maybe write a story about it because...
that's a movie.
Yeah, same movie. I remember I ran out of money and then some Ugandans, they were traders there. They changered and they gave me transport. I jumped on a bus. They were like, if you reach the border, will you find your way? I said, yeah, my home is just next to the border. And that's how they gave me the...
That's really nice of them. Wow. Well,
So I
it's a
came back-
heartwarming story, bro. This is a Hollywood script.
Yeah, one day maybe I'll sit down and write it. So I come back home and, okay, I might come back to my senses and I focus on senior 4. I pass it, second grade. Then I focus on A-level, I pass. But I never stopped writing. And then I kept writing until I even through university. I remember trying to get into Monitor and New Vision, but they were not doing fiction. My first stories were published in the New Vision when they were doing fiction. They had a fiction section. That was 2001. But there was really no publishing opportunities. Up to now, Uganda is like this place, you can't make money as a writer. Yeah. So by 2002, 2003, it was really clear to me that, man, there is no way you're going to make it off as a writer because there was no publishing industry. There was literally nothing, you know. Yeah, the culture for reading was not there. But at this time, this is when Nollywood films were, you know, kicking off. And like now all libraries, people are like, have you seen Nigerian films? Have you seen Nigerian films? And like all the video libraries, if you don't stock a Nigerian film, you don't make money. And that's when the first idea of, you know, making a film came to me. I was like,
What were you doing in A-level? I want to first put this business together.
I did the Hell.
Yeah. Okay, so there's leads there. Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
It was
What, history?
History, economics, and literature.
Okay. That's hell. Okay.
that's Hell. Sometimes I had to say thought of that.
Yeah. Okay. Then that
Yeah.
makes sense. And you never considered to write nonfiction?
I did because I remember that time, and it's actually the biggest push I got. The Sunday Vision editors, there was Joachim Buembo and Simon Kaheru. Those names can't get out of my mind because they called me to their office. Like when I went to pick my check, it was 30,000 shillings. You know, I had to travel all the way. I spent, I think, 15,000 on transport to and fro to get 30,000. But for me, it was...
Where was MTN, you know?
For me, like, it was more about, because I wanted to write and I wanted that. And, you know, like if you get that kind of chance right now, you know, it's very easy to write your blog and get published. But back then it was really hard. And just to see your name in print was a big motivator, basically. So, I went to, they called me to their office when I went to pick the check. And then somebody said, oh, this guy has come, Dilman. And then it was Simon who, oh, Dilman, you're the one, Dilman. He was taking me around the whole Sunday Vision editorial. Guys, this is Dilman. It showed me like all the people, this is Dilman. I was like, what's...
That's really nice. That's really cool.
And then it took me
and Joachim Buembo is a really cool guy. I massively admire him.
So that was the first time I met him, the one and only time. And then he greeted me and said, and then he was like, do you want to be our Eastern stringer? Like, what is that? So you write for us news from Eastern region. I was like, okay. And then, of course, every time you write news, they're like, fiction is not going far because, you know, anytime they can stop it. I think they stopped the fiction thing 4-5 months later. But they gave me a letter and said, if you can make it as a string, I'll get for us news. Here is a letter introducing you as a new vision string. I think I have that letter still. So I went back to Tororo, and there was this guy, what was his name? Abraham Odeke. He was the journalist in town. So I showed him my letter. I said, they've told me to be coming to you, bring news, and we pass through you. So yeah, I tried looking for news, writing nonfiction, but
it was a try. That was.
I remember trying to write this story. There's a person had killed his wife and chopped her to pieces. And so I was trying to write that story, and it ended up as a short story, a short horror.
I was just about to say, I know where you got it from. Yeah, I mean, so many of your films have these basically, someone trying to dispose of a body is a recurrent theme.
I interviewed a lot of people, and then I couldn't write, but because I kept thinking of, the fiction thing, so I failed. I wrote back to these guys. I told them, sorry, I can't do. I can't do nonfiction.
Do you think that background in kind of covering small town crime fed into your later interest in portraying these incidents on screen?
No, I was already interested in horror stuff. Remember, I told you Stephen King was my big. I was a big fan of Stephen King, so I was already leaning towards very dark stories. And so even when I started making films, the very first film I wrote, it was very dark, and about a headmaster raping schoolgirls and killing them. And then...
Nice. Where can we watch that?
It never got made.
Oh, I wonder why.
But
was that something that you were you wanted to expose? Was this kind of...
Not exposing, it was basically just a story, like a serial killer, because at that time, serial killer stories were big, and I wanted to write a serial killer story, but not the
typical mask guy.
I was just serial killers, somebody and a very normal,
respectable,
he doesn't keep fetishes, chopping hands or what, but he just rapes and kills and then buries them in his backyard. And I wrote that script, and this was, I think, 2002, 2003. At that time, I was in this Yahoo group for writers around East Africa. And then I met a Kenyan filmmaker called Kinyanjui Wanjiru. She was a big name at that time. She had made a film, I think, in 94 that went to festivals and things like that. And then I pitched to her this script, and then she picked it, and she was like, oh, give me, she optioned it, basically. And then I was like, oh, yeah, this is what I was really looking for. But then she never produced it. And of course, I also never produced it. It is still somewhere there on my drives. Yeah, but then it was the eye-opener. But then I started now thinking more about, more other filmmakers, around. Because at that time in Uganda, film was very young. It was actually non-existent. And people are still, sketching. I think the first person to make a film, Roses in the Rain or somewhere, 2004, I forget their name. Okay. But I remember Roses in the Rain. I don't remember who did that. But during Amakula, I think you know some of those guys. Yeah, there was a guy who used to make a lot of films. Every other year he was making.
Is it? I know Matt Bish.
No.
What about Ashraf?
Matt Bish was so.
Ashraf Semogere.
Ashraf,
yeah. Cool guy. Yeah, very cool guy.
I've not met him, but I remember his.
He's an interesting man.
Yeah. They had not started it at that time.
What was your big break? What was your film that put you on the map?
I think that was the What Happened in Room 13.
What Happened in Room 13?
Yeah.
Which has how many million views on YouTube?
More than 8 million.
Pretty good. Yeah.
Oh wow.
So yeah,
I saw it years ago, and I didn't know it was by you. I think it came up somewhere, and I watched it and thought, I mean, it is very funny. It's also super dark, weird.
Yeah, I was trying to make a horror.
But it is funny. Come on. I mean, it's full of dark humor, like from first to last.
Oh, and is it full in English?
No,
It's silent. It's a silent film.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think
Well,
that's
it's a dialogue-free film.
Yeah.
Not silent.
Okay, so around that time, I was trying, because at that time I really just wanted to be a writer. I was very shy and, very introvertish. I think I have autism. I've never diagnosed, but that is it, socially uncomfortable when I'm in people. So I thought, I'll just write and, sell. But then I think I wrote a script. At that time, Amakula started, I think, 2005, 2004. So I kept going for their events and meeting people. And I think one of those events, I met Irene Kulabako. I think that was 2004, 2005. And then she was also, a big name at that time, I think with UBC or something. So I gave her this script, a short film that I had written. And then she produced it. And I think that is the time when people in Kampala started hearing of me.
That was Room 13.
No, that was not Room 13.
What was that?
That was After the Silence.
Okay, I don't think I've seen that. Is that on YouTube?
I don't know. But it was 2004, 2005. There.
Can you tell us a little bit about your experience with Amakula? And not everyone's heard of it, so you might have to explain what it is.
Amakula, it was the film festival. I think the first film festival in Uganda. And it ran for many years, up to I don't remember when.
I think I attended the last two, maybe or so.
When it started, it was like kind of the film festival, like the film event, And it was a good platform because they will bring first good films into Kampala. At that time, actually, I was not staying in Kampala. I was like way out in Kamuli. I had got a job with one of these NGOs. So I would come from Kamuli to Kampala just to attend Amakula. And they had they were not exactly networking, but they had workshops that they will bring filmmakers from outside. I remember there were two guys, I think from Sweden. They were Swedish Ugandans who came. I think that's the time when I met Irene Kulabako and the other filmmakers in Kampala. I think it was called Karim Baker and...
Oh, Karim Baker, he's still active.
He's a big name now.
Kenyan Swedish.
Ugandan Swedish.
Oh, is it Ugandan Swedish?
Yeah.
Okay, I stand corrected. But there's a Kenyan connection because they've just made a film in Kenya, which I've just seen, called The Dog.
Maybe.
Very good film.
So that makes him Kenyan.
Karim Baker. Yeah. No, I mean, sorry.
Yeah.
But I thought, anyway. But okay, about Amakula, what was it about Amakula that made it different as a festival for you?
No, it's just because of this, first meeting other filmmakers. And it was the first film festival I was ever attending.
The only one, I think.
The only one at that time. And, but also, when you're struggling as a filmmaker and you're not finding people like Kinyanjui, I never met her. I've never met her at all. But we could meet online.
Who is that, sorry?
The Kenyan lady I told you.
Oh, yeah.
Wanjiru Kinyanjui. So with Amakula, most of the audience were either filmmakers or wannabe filmmakers. I don't think Ugandan film has ever gone to the place where the audience is 90% just,
We'll come to that in a minute.
I actually wanted to... You talked about Nigerian films.
Yeah.
And I want to understand that influence there because you say it's a big part that moves you from writing to...
Yes. Yeah. Because at that point, I realized a lot of people are watching films, And it struck me at that moment that if I make films, I can make money more than if I wrote books. Yeah, because it was like you go to a video library, everyone was asking for a Nigerian film. The one that I used to go to, they had a whole shelf, I think 2 shelves, Nigerian, and only 1 shelf had...
Oh, the other movies.
Hollywood, yeah. And I watched the first Nigerian film. I was like, it's very basic. It was like Dogme, but without the good storytelling.
That's harsh.
Yeah.
But true.
But true, yes.
Yeah.
But then the thing is,
And
people
the
are
acting.
watching.
Yeah.
People are watching it, and people are paying for it. And that was the first time I was like, okay, I probably can make money out of film. And then I started looking for ways to learn film.
Did you look at the Nigerian films and think, I can do that, but better? Was that your thing?
That was the exact thought. I was like, this, like I can get a wedding, people who do wedding videos, they shoot for me this film and I edit it and I can make money.
I'm going to do it my twisted way.
Yeah.
And because your films are not like classic Nigerian dramas. I mean, they're very different.
No, of course. But I was looking at it more from the money point of view.
Right.
Because,
making a job out of it.
Yes, because I was looking more at people are watching, people are paying to watch this. And so there is a way, if I make a film, I can, I never got that sense with writing. Because I would go for, I don't remember any literature festival, but there were some events, mostly at Makerere. I never got the sense that if I wrote a book, I'm going to become a big seller.
Spoiler alert, Uganda's not the only country where writers are broke. I mean,
exactly.
It's like if anyone's kids, come to them and go like, I want to be a writer. You're like,
yeah.
It's bad enough going into film or music, right? But writing, forget it,
I mean, right now it's a bit better. But at that time, the only thing you could think about is getting an agent, getting published in the West.
Yeah, exactly.
And of course,
even
all the
there,
opportunities.
Come on, I mean, even very successful writers are still not like rich. It's quite rare.
But at that time, it was even worse. But now it is better. I mean, self-publishing has become really easy. And also with ebooks, I actually make some bit of money now from my books and my stories.
And there's a big upsurge of interest now in African literature. In the last 20 years.
Exactly.
It's completely changed.
Exactly.
Hasn't it?
And also, they no longer expect the kind of literature that at that time I didn't even
I know what you mean. Chinua Achebe kind of offshoots.
Or if not, then it's something poverty-ish, a messagey kind of.
Who's your favorite writer from the old days, like the classics?
The one, we never read him in school. There's someone called Amos Tutuola.
Oh, yeah, he's brilliant. The palm wine drinker. My Life in a Bush of Ghosts.
So those are the kinds of stories I want to read. But we've never. I had to discover Amos Tutuola after school. But if they gave us those books at school, I mean,
did you read the Moses series in school?
Yeah, that was
I like them. I've read the Moses.
That was in primary.
Oh, okay. For us, we didn't know them. We did the Moses series.
I remember Moses. P5, unless there was another Moses.
I found some of them in like an old bookshop the other day.
Moses are the ones.
They're
so small. So
like little, action adventure books. There should be a Moses book about escaping from boarding school to get your book published.
Moses movie series, TV show, because
let's do it.
So interesting. Yeah.
And you weren't a fan of Ngugi wa Thiong'o?
Not really. Up to now, like some people, they think highly of him and probably is one of the ones that I might try to read, but school spoiled him for me.
I know what you mean.
I thought it's a textbook.
You're told how to interpret it. It's like, it's very rigid the way,
So I came out of school like, no, I'm not reading Ngugi. And people keep pushing his books to me and like, oh, it's a fantasy, it's a sci-fi. I'm like, yeah, but it's a school book.
Whoops. Shit. So I thought your question was really good about the Nigerian films, by the way. And I'd like to draw out like the contrasts. So what is it in film that you do that's different from that approach to the classics of Nigerian dramas? How would you look at your own films in relationship to, because you said quite explicitly, I went into the libraries, I started watching these movies. What's the leap from those kind of films to what you wanted to do? How did you bridge that? How did you conceptualize it?
I think for me, it was more like when I watched a Nigerian film, I knew the story wasn't there and the acting was also really horrible. But I knew I was a good writer and I knew I could tell good stories. But what motivated me from the Nigerians was just their production, because they were not waiting for, big budget to make a film. They were picking up whatever. I think most of it was, the same cameras they use for weddings is the cameras they were using to shoot. And I think the first if you hear the Nollywood story, the person who supposedly started Nollywood used to sell videotapes, and he had a lot of empty videotapes, and then he wanted to sell them. I think it was a wedding business kind of thing. And so they made their first film and put it in videotapes, and then he was selling products. So it was more the concept of, I can make money out of this. And that was the only thing I got from the Nollywood thing. Eventually, when I started learning how to make films, I didn't go their way, because I was looking more, of course, at the more, not properly made, but the classics, I read Polanski, Roman Polanski, who was one of the first people I studied so that I could make films like him.
What's your favorite Polanski film?
There's, off my head now, I can't even think of it, but there is
Describe it.
There are the short films that he did. And actually, I should credit Roman Polanski for making me make films without dialogue.
Right.
Because in one of these masterclasses it gave, I think it was at the back of a DVD. Back then, to make DVDs much more sellable, there were all these directors' notes.
Which I love. I used to watch all of them. The extras. I'm an extras
They
watcher.
had those extras.
Yeah.
So
he was doing a masterclass on storytelling or
something like that, yeah. And I don't remember where it was, but I remember it was Roman Polanski who did say, if you want to make it as a filmmaker, you should make films without dialogue, the short films without dialogue. And I was like, oh, okay. Because we didn't have film school, and I was learning from people like this, because even this was before Maisha, I would Google. Okay, Google was there-ish.
Yeah, I think it was.
the early 2000s, was it?
Yeah, it was there. Maybe, yeah, because I got a Gmail in 2005. So
Yeah, it was there. It was there but
Googling was not a
1998 was there.
concept
Yeah,
yet. There was Ask Jeeves, there was Yahoo.
There was Yahoo as well, yes.
Yeah, anyway, I was searching the internet. Google has spoiled us, but I was searching the internet, and I would come up, with all these articles about filmmaking, and that's how I would read. And yeah.
Do you remember there was a Roman Polanski film? I think it's his first feature called Knife in the Water. That's the translated title. It's called something unpronounceable.
I remember
in Polish.
watching all his early films.
Because Knife in the Water is a good example of, it's not, it has lots of dialogue in it, but it doesn't really need the dialogue. And it's almost like physical theatre. It's all set on most of it's set on a boat. And it's inspired lots of other films, including a very good Australian thriller called Dead Calm. So it's the idea that three of you are trapped on a boat. You've got a couple and a psycho. Okay. And it's a great formula, because boats are very claustrophobic.
Yes.
And it's Knife in the Water is a commentary on class. So the psycho is a young boy who is kind of a drifter, and the couple are a kind of upwardly mobile bourgeois Polish couple. And this isn't in the 60s, where they've come out of the Second World War. Poland is a kind of new modern country in Eastern Europe. And then there's this guy who kind of comes into their life. And so it's got this class commentary and very intense kind of claustrophobic drama on a boat. And a lot about masculinity. The two men are kind of competing for the woman. And just brilliant camera work.
I think I remember watching all his films.
I'm sure you saw it.
But the one that stuck to me, there was this thing with two men carrying a mirror. It was a short film.
Okay.
Was it a mirror or a wardrobe? A wardrobe that has a mirror.
And they're walking through the city or something. I'd love to see his short films now. I've never seen them.
Short films.
Okay, I'm going to see them. Send me
It
links.
was one of his short films, and it's the one that really...
Maybe we could include a link under the...
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it sounds good. Good tip.
I'm also curious. So before you want to make films, what movies are you watching? Because for me, my story is I first watch movies, and I'm like, wow, this is the only... If there was a way you could lock me in a room and I watch movies forever, maybe I'll live forever. That's when it's after I enjoy watching movies that I start liking to make movies. But I'm wondering, because I see for you like to write, and now you decide that filming is a good product. You know, if films are a good product, people are going to buy them. But before then, what movies are you watching? Before you know that making a movie is...
I was watching everything and anything.
Oh, okay.
Because I didn't... I grew up in a very... how is laissez-faire the word? I went to a school that was very free.
Did you learn
but also home it was very free. Like
You could do it. You could watch anything.
yeah, but not. We didn't have a TV. We had the film, the Kibandas.
Yeah.
So it was my favorite hangout.
Oh, okay,
the Kibanda, and I would watch everything there.
What were they showing in the Kibanda? What do you remember watching?
Oh, of course, Chinese, all Chinese.
A lot of kung fu,
Kung Fu. There was Indian films,
Bollywood dancing, singing.
Exactly. I watched a lot of that growing up.
And Sylvester Stallone stuff as well.
Yeah,
We used to
action.
call every actor Amtabachan. And then...
What's that?
You don't know Amtabachan. He's a big Indian star.
Okay.
Yeah, and so we are going to watch Amtabachan. And then when I went to Nepal, 2009, people, I'll tell, Amtabachan, and they're like, oh. They're like, so I'll begin singing a song, and they'll tell me, no, that's not Amtabachan. And me, I knew like every Indian film was Amtabachan. Like I would sing the one that I remember, Jimmy, 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 Acha, Acha, Acha. Something like that.
Right.
And then they'll say, no, that's not Amtabachan. That's all. But yeah, I watched a lot of that. And then, of course, we watched also a lot of Hollywood films. Those Kibandas, I don't know, it was like a mishmash of everything, you know. Mostly it was films that have action, but also there are films like with stories, with drama. I remember The Matrix. We were watching The Matrix even 3 weeks before they were officially released.
Wow.
I remember that because we used to have I would read newspapers, and then they will say The Matrix is, opening weekend is next week, but Chibanda already had it.
Wow. And were there did you ever go to the cinema in Kampala? Were there any cinemas open at the time?
No, I didn't grow up in Kampala. I came to Kampala when I was an adult. Even Amakula would come from Kamuli to attend Amakula and then go back.
And when you were growing up, by the way, which town did you grow up in as a kid?
Tororo, and then
Tororo
is where, Kamuli it was mostly work. But those are the two towns I lived in before.
And in Tororo, sorry, I just curious. Did you have these outdoor cinema experiences where no, that didn't happen?
The only experience we had was Kibanda.
It's Kibanda, video halls. Yeah.
Video halls, yeah.
Yeah.
But at that time, it was not translated, and we actually hated translated films. Maybe because, Toro is not a Luganda-speaking... Okay, there is Luganda, but majority will probably speak Swahili.
Yeah. Swahili is much bigger there. Yeah.
So those translated films came later on, but majority was just, the original.
Always small screen. It's just relatively small screens, right?
Small screen, small rooms, as small as this, very dark, cigarette smoke, mirror. That was the atmosphere.
Warachi.
Yeah,
No,
I noticed.
No Warachi. Really? Why?
No, it's only a mirror and cigarette smoke.
You can't, no booze.
No.
Why?
You couldn't booze.
Really?
I don't know. It was just a thing.
Maybe because drunk people are noisy. They'll interrupt the film.
Yeah, but there was a lot of mirror. They would eat a lot of mirror, and some would smoke the weed, but it wasn't very...
I see. No, I wanted to ask because TC is known for taekwondo, right? Maybe that's after you, but everyone actually I know from TC claims to be the best taekwondo.
We used to have taekwondo, but our headmaster at that time didn't like it.
Okay, I see.
He liked boxing.
Oh, okay.
He would promote boxing, but he hated karate.
You've got a good
It's
build.
the one thing that will get you expelled.
Oh, really? What, martial arts?
Karate, yeah.
Really? That's weird.
I remember that there was a guy, he had a chanku,
Yeah.
was expelled. That's the only
Were you a boxer?
No.
But you got good reach, I guess.
I've never been into...
Yeah, now I've always wondered why. I was thinking maybe it was because of the film culture there, but maybe not.
Oh, taekwondo, right? Yeah.
I don't know. It maybe came later, but at the time I was there at Taekwondo, it was frowned upon. Like we had the boxing was the bigger thing, but Taekwondo, there was a bit of it, but it was on the low, and the headmaster was not a cool fan of it.
Can we talk a little bit about your new short films? I'm sorry, I'm just slightly aware of time.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. The three films of yours that I've watched recently. I wanted to talk about the three. So Eve, Night Dancer, and then Room 13. That's my personal interest. Then also I wanted to ask about distribution and about your approach to business. Okay. Like how are you? So let's start with that.
Business.
Yeah, the business side of things. So what I've noticed, no, I mean, of course, none of us are making any money, but this is film. But my question is, you've got a very personalized approach to distributing your film. Mm-hmm. You've got a website, which is your film company name. And earlier in the conversation, you mentioned that you like an approach where you like share with your peers more than, let's say, kind of putting yourself out there online, right? Mm-hmm. Talk us through your approach to distributing your films, and are you happy with it? What would you like to see happening in distribution?
Distribution, it's a big thing. I mean, I've not cracked it, but I think I've found a formula that kind of works for me. And I think in Uganda, of course, we make money, like you sell to the only buyer, DSTV, and that, you can make some good chunks of money there. But of course, there's a certain kind of thing that they're looking for. And I give them the comedies, and that works. But what I really like to make is the sci-fi stuff and, fantasy and things like that. And so when I started out, even what happened in Room 13 was supposed to be a ghost story, but then I didn't have the technicalities of making the ghost and, all those kind of things. And then the mentors were like, it's a simpler story if you just, keep it the way it is eventually. And so I cut down on the ghosts and
I mean, it works very well as a story as it is.
Yeah. I mean, that was the thing that I took away from the mentors. And of course, also, at that time, I was thinking more of dark films. And they were like, you have a thing for comedy. The other film I did, the Felistas Fable, it was also supposed to be a horror. And then, Steve Cohen, he was one of the other mentors. His film, The Bachelor, he wrote that film, The Bachelor. It was a big comedy hit. I think one of the biggest comedy hits at some point. But he hated it because he was like... Hollywood spoiled his script. And then, he gave me a lot of tips also on script writing. I think I learned a lot from him. So he's the one who kind of pushed me more towards comedy. And then after that I made Felistas Fable as a comedy, not a horror. And then after that, I started making clear definitions on genre.
What would the horror Felistas Fable have looked like? What would have changed?
Kind of the same storyline, but the main character was more of a monster, and she was killing people.
Oh, I see.
And she kidnaps this guy. Same story. She wants to use him in a sacrifice, and then to take off the curse. But then there's just a lot of slashing and blood and
just more violence.
More violence. And then the guy read it and was like, Dilman, this is not a horror, this is a romantic comedy,
right? With lots of violence in it. But so I hope it's not awkward to ask this, so just answer it in any way you like. But, why didn't Felistas Fable get a full release? Why didn't it go, in terms of... Okay, talk me through the way it was released and talk me through how you would like it to have happened. So what happened and what should have happened?
Yeah, okay. Distribution, we're talking of the distribution. Because, so I did get into film, like I said. with the thing about, making money the Nollywood way. And there was already some kind of, But by the time I made the Felistas Fable 2013, of course, piracy was really, really high. And the other thing was that for it to release a film, you needed, to put it in a theater. You needed to have a lot of, advertising stuff. You need to advertise it to push it there. And of course, at that time, people I used in the film, they were all kind of big stars around that time. Kudu, he was a star, he was very, very famous from the Hostel series. Same with Tiba Murunji. And then Veronica and Amanda, she was also a big star from the Fun Factory thing. I think they still do the Fun Factory. So I had a marketable cast. Yeah. The challenge was I was doing the maths and it was not math. It wasn't mathing properly because I asked someone, they were doing in an ad company, and then they were like, if I'm to put my film, National Theatre, I want advertisements. They were giving me a budget, was around a very conservative one, around between 2 million and 5 million to just push the film, market it. And then I had to rent the National Theatre. Of course, that time there was ways you could talk to them for splitting the thing. There were all these options, but the initial investments, it was coming to a lot of money.
And then you'd already invested in making the film.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then it wouldn't have been a problem if there was a certainty,
some guarantee,
of selling it and actually making back that money. But that is where now I had problems, because I would see everybody who was doing a premiere and, red carpet, flashy things, but they were not making back the money they were putting into that premiere. And it was not making economic sense to me. And people were telling me, you just release, you'll get the money. But I was like, I'll be losing money. And I didn't, I already had this kind of business thing. I should put money where I'm going to make it back. So I was thinking of all those things. And then I was like, I don't think I'm going to do a premiere, And there are other ways of making back that money. And at this point, I had I'd made some films in Nepal, documentary films. So I got a TV distributor. And I remember making more money from that TV distributor than I could ever think about, Yeah. They'll send me about 2,000 euros at the end of the year, 3,000 euros from selling my documentaries.
And these are the half-hour documentaries, 20-minute documentaries you're making in Nepal. Exactly. Yeah. And you ended up in Nepal because how did that happen? Sorry, we're digressing. No, it's quite interesting.
Yes.
If I keep jumping like this,
no, we're coming back to the point. Just quickly, what was the Nepal
I went to Nepal. I think there's a time I was working in Kamuli. I had this very good job with an NGO, and I was earning a very handsome salary and all that. But then after making What Happened in Room 13, sort of everybody was now saying my name. And, because I think nobody had seen that kind of film in East Africa. I'm not sure of Africa, but at least in Uganda, everyone was like, is this a Ugandan? Yeah, some people would watch the film and then they'll say, this is a Muzungu, because they'll even see my name and it's not a Ugandan name. And then they will say Ugandan and they're like, you made that film? So there was that kind of excitement that I was getting, when you get that kind of vibe, from people. Ellen Gwalich.
Yeah, I know Ellen Great Lakes. Yeah,
she kept telling me
the late, sadly, yeah, she's a great woman. She did die, 3 years ago, I think. Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah, but anyway, she told me she wanted to give me some directing gigs, and she was offering, I think it was 2.5 million at that time for a 2-week job, which was what I was earning in 3 months. The NGO. And then I couldn't take it because I couldn't get leave. And then she was like, why don't you resign? If you get, there's a lot more gigs like this that you can survive on. So there was all these things happening to me, and I was like, okay, maybe it's time I quit.
Follow your heart.
And but what took you to Nepal?
And that's where I'm coming to. So I resign, and then all these offers dry up.
As expected. And then nobody is calling me, and I'm like,
I was going to say, it's kind of irresponsible advice. It's like in music, whenever an artist comes to record at our studio, and they're like, I'm going all in, I've quit my job, I've, sold my car, I'm going all in on this album. And I'm like, no.
Don't.
Like, call your boss now and say, I'm sorry. Yeah.
Yeah, so it was something of that kind. Because, but like there was also an Mnet thing that offered me, I think it was $600 per episode in Kenya at that time to write it. No, there are all these offers that were coming in when I had my job. And then, but I had to go to Nairobi for the writing room. And I couldn't do it when I asked for leave. Then on my way to the airport, the Nairobi guys called and said, we've postponed the writing thing to the other week. I mean, like 2 or 3 weeks later. But then, with the organizations.
Yeah, you got us.
No, I mean, fair enough. I mean, if I was your boss, I'd also be like...
So I had to go back. Then I couldn't cancel my leave because, there are all those things that happened. So
very frustrating.
Yes. And then when I resign, none of these offers come up. So I'm, trying to sketch around, and then someone told me that, in Kampala here, it's you better off as a cameraman than a director, because nobody knows director. They know,
True.
Camera operators. You can get jobs as a camera operator as well. And I was a bit depressed, but then there was this thing I saw a call for volunteers to go to Nepal, not to Nepal, but they can post you wherever in the world. And but you had, of course, to say what you're going to do there and what you like, because we keep seeing white people coming out, volunteers. Most of them are actually from organizations like that. But I think...
What was the name of this one?
To volunteer services overseas.
Oh, VSO.
VSO, yeah.
A big one.
Yeah. So I wrote, because at that time, video advocacy was kind of catching up. Like, people are just getting small cameras in their hands for the first time. I think phone cameras had not yet come in, but they were really cheap cameras that were moving around. And so I was like, I have this experience with the NGO world, and I have this experience as a filmmaker, so I can create some programs around video advocacy. Yeah. And I was like, okay, cool. We can find you where to go with this kind of skills. And so an organization in Nepal accepted to host me. And that's how I ended up there for 2 years in a small town, like more than 2 days on a bus from the capital city.
And so they hadn't met many Africans before?
No, it was a horrible experience.
It was horrible?
Yeah, it was like too extreme, but let's not go there.
Okay.
We'll divert and keep diverting.
Yeah.
So,
okay, that's the next interview we'll do, yeah.
So, I went there and I made 3 films. There was one on disability.
The Sound of
One Leg Dance.
It's brilliant. Yeah, thanks for sending that. Is that publicly available?
Yes, that's publicly available. And it, I think, won me my very first award.
Really?
In Nepal, yeah. They won a...
It's beautifully shot and it's very intimate, and I love the way that you don't realize that she's disabled until some minutes into the film. It's really clever and very touching. It's a great subject. Did you make friends with the subject of the
Yeah,
the
we
star
kept
of
in
the film?
touch
Yeah.
on Facebook for a while.
Yeah.
Until a few years ago.
Yeah.
Another one, I made 3 films. The other one was also about the dancing poet. There was this girl, she was blind, but she was a dancer and she could choreograph dances. It was also, yeah. She came actually to Uganda recently and we met up, I think, just before COVID or after COVID, I don't remember. But around that time, and it was weird. And then the third film I made was, Untouchable Love. It's the one that made the most money. Okay, not money, but it sold a bit because it was the story about, intercaste marriages. Yeah, so it was the longer version, and it was the one that it could get.
Do you think being like an East African filming from out, you're from outside of their community, did that give you some kind of access?
Exactly. Yeah. I thought, because when I came off, I thought I was a good documentary filmmaker, that I could talk to anyone and they tell me their stories. And then I came back to Uganda and I tried to do the same, and people were closing doors on me. And then I realized, it is easier to talk to a stranger.
Absolutely.
Than it is to, and I realized why when foreigners come to make films in Uganda, they find it easy. Because it's the same thing. It's not like the color of the skin or anything, but just because you realize this person is not from within your area. So you can easily tell them things, but I will go to a home and then, I get the sense that, okay, this is a neighbor, in quotes. I mean, not a neighbor, but they know this guy stays within Kampala. If I tell him ABCD, he's going to know it. He stays there. I mean,
yeah, and also
so
there's a sort of thing of judging as well. It's kind of like, it's harder to be really open with someone who knows your culture really well.
Exactly.
Because you're constantly thinking how they're going to judge you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it was easy to get people to open up on their camera in Nepal than it has ever been. And I gave up on documentary filmmaking after.
You didn't make any more after Nepal?
That's what I was telling you. Like, the last one I tried to make, I got to this lady. She was a traditional herbalist, but she had a big clinic. I think it might still be there in Kireka. And I wanted to tell her story, how she mixes modern clinic environment with herbal medicine. And, it was kind of,
Sounds interesting.
So she was like, come. But she thought I was from Bukede. And it was one of those, one interview, and then you go on.
And she didn't want the whole participatory ethnographic.
Kind of thing. I kept telling, I went there like 5 times before I went to the camera.
Yeah.
You go the first time, you tell her, this is what I want to do. I want to come here for a whole year. I come once every week. And, so we go the first day, we do the filming. Everything is okay. I go the second day, they're like,
you're still here?
And then the third day, nobody comes to meet me. I'm sitting in the sitting room for like 30 minutes. Then a child comes, Genda,
wow. But I mean, in a way, that them getting used to you is exactly what you want. I mean, you should have just persisted, I think.
No,
they didn't want you around.
Yes, I got the sense that,
it's not easy. We're showing, you were asking me about documentary the other day. Yeah, I'm having some trouble at the moment. Me and a couple of friends are making a film about the youth around this period of elections and how they're interacting with the political situation. And I don't want to go into detail, but it's fascinating because we're dealing with people who are, some of them are like in this grey area of the law, like they're doing stuff that they don't want to be seen doing. A lot of them more on the opposition side are like less, they don't want to be seen at all because they're opposition and they know what happened in 2021. So getting these guys to talk or even just to appear on camera in anything but their like ghetto is really hard. So the minute you go out of the ghetto, they're not comfortable being seen on camera. So it's really challenging. And I've got so much respect for people who can make observational film because it's exhausting and it's so much work. But from the only Nepalese film of yours I've seen is the Sound of One Leg Dancing, and I really recommend it. I think it's a wonderful portrait of an extraordinary human being, and it tells you a lot about the society around her and how they judge beauty, it's full of kind of interesting contrasts as a film. She's very obsessed with her own image, but she doesn't fit the stereotype of a kind of a model or something. She's an incredible dancer, but she's only got one leg and all of these things. And she doesn't really seem to care. She's just like, this is what I do. It's amazing. It's a wonderful film. Yeah. We got into Nepal because we were talking about something completely different, which is we were talking about your distribution model.
Yeah.
And tell us a bit more about that. Tell us a bit more about what went wrong with Felistas Fable. So where we were, you were you were worried about piracy. You found the premiere too expensive, and you were like, you felt like your market was probably in Uganda, I think, or not. Like, why didn't you just go full international? Did you apply for festivals? What was your approach to getting the film out?
Yeah, international.
Oh, I know why we got into Nepal, because you said, I was talking to this TV producer.
No, the
TV distributor.
Yes.
So yeah, that's where we were. Let's pick up from there.
Oh yeah. So with Felistas Fable, at that time, it was also a very weird moment for filmmaking in Africa. The way books were expected to have a certain kind of story and narrative. Films, it was even worse, because the films at that time, they had to be heavily about certain things. I remember,
like what?
AIDS, war.
Poverty, AIDS, war.
Yeah.
PAW, we call it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So at that time, even the what happened in Room 13, because all the mentors were like, wow, we've not seen something like this. I mean, if it was made in the US, or it would have been doing all the festivals. But these guys, they had access to programmers in Sundance, Rotterdam, I don't know if Cannes, somebody maybe sent to Cannes, but they had that network and they sent this film to all these other people. And they were all saying, no, because, they were expecting certain kind of films from Uganda, not I don't know if it is a comedy or a dark film.
Yeah.
It is just about a man with a dead body.
It's curiously amoral. It's not a film that takes sides. It's like, it's pretty twisted. I love it. Yeah.
So there are those things that you had to struggle with as a filmmaker from Africa at that time. I know other films that were made along with the Felistas Fable, like The Pardon.
I have not seen it.
Ugandan genocide. The same time.
Okay.
And The Pardon.
That was you?
The festivals. No.
Who? Okay.
There was a Rwandan filmmaker.
And you think it did well because it was leaning into the genocide narrative?
I think so. I mean, I don't want to take away from his because he's a good director. He made the second film. He raised money, but of course it had ties to Rwandan soldiers in Congo after the genocide or something like that. But yeah, Felistas Fable, like, it didn't do well as well in any festival. It didn't go to any festival outside of a few African festivals, but it went to AMA. The Africa movie. It was nominated for Best First Feature, which was a good thing. Yeah, and then after that, I think I sold it to Mnet. They bought the rights for like 2 years, and then I got a distributor who also gave me money. So in that way, I made more money from this kind of distribution things than if I'd ever put it on what? As a premiere.
As a premiere.
Yeah.
Sorry, can I ask you, without going into too much detail, I know that it's not currently available online. Is that because of a deal gone wrong or something?
Yeah. So the problem comes because with the documentary distributor, I don't know what the magic was, because every year I would get a check. Here is $2,000, here is 3,000 euros, not dollars, because they were a UK-based thing. And I would like sometimes I'll be so broke, and then I just see the email coming. You have your royalties. This.
Do you think I think you're the first documentary filmmaker I've met in Uganda who's had that success.
Because how I got them, I put my film in Docs for Sale.
Okay. Docs for Sale. Oh, IDFA. Yeah.
But I had to pay money. I think 3,000 euros to list it in
3,000.
No, 3,000 euros, 300.
Oh,
yeah, it's kind of
3,000 is a lot. Yeah.
No,
Yeah,
but now it is
300
actually around there, because if you want to list your film in a film market like IDFA, I think now it's maybe 1,000, because this was 2011.
And what films were you putting up for sale?
That was the
Nepalese.
Untouchable Love, the Nepali.
Oh, that was Untouchable Love.
Yes.
Yeah, because that was quite successful at the time.
Yeah.
But, like in Uganda, Felistas Fable was much talked about when it came out, and because you had like Kudu and these like relatively big names in it. When I was making my first moves into film, everyone referenced Felistas' Fable. Like, so I had something to do with that. So if they were an actor, they had some part in it. If they were crew, they were kind of second camera assistant, but people were kind of very keen to be associated with it. So I think it was regarded as an important film at the time. And what, I found weird was that when I went to look for it recently online, I'm like, I couldn't get it anywhere. I mean...
Yeah, okay. So I was talking about the distributors. So what happens with distributions? The first distributor I got for Felistas' Fable, they were like, we are going to sell your thing to all these TVs around the world. And I'm like, cool. Because the actual festivals, they were not responding, which is why I didn't put it on any of these markets as well. Because still with the programmers, we try to talk from the mentors, the Maisha mentors, they try to talk to some of them, Rotterdam and things like that, but they were not very responsive. So I was like, if I try to put it on sale, I might just be... I could have got a distributor from there, but the good thing, within a year, it went to AMA. And then after that, a distributor is one who contacted me and told me, we are actually a big name film distributor in Africa. We are giving you, there was a guarantee fee, but was small, a minimum guarantee of 2,000. And then we're going to sell the film and be sending you the check. But you have to sign it off for 7 years. I was like, okay. I was okay with it at that point. So they did take the film, and I think this was like within 1 year of me producing it. And even before I could really settle down and say, let me do a premiere. And when they take the rights, they do take the rights. So for 7 years, I couldn't do anything with Felistas. Problem is, I kept waiting for the checks. I didn't get any. I kept getting there's the fine print in their contracts where they add money or like they charge the film for costs they have incurred on the product. Like if they make a poster to sell the film, they will charge it to the film. So whatever royalties were coming in, I will see. Yeah, there was we gave you 2,000, and then there's all these expenses we are doing, and so whatever sales they would make was less than than what I would get. So I was already in negatives with them. So for all the 7 years, the 2,000 was the only money that I saw from the film, even when you will see they are making sales every other time. And so after that, the 7 years passed, and I was like, okay, cool, I'll have back my film. Maybe I'll just put it on YouTube because now it's old news. But then another distributor gets in touch, and they're like, oh, we are better.
Wait, this first one, do you suspect it was foul play?
No, I think it's just how they do.
Yeah, it's tricky, isn't it? We're learning a lot about distribution at the moment, and as a music distributor, which I've done for years, sometimes things just don't make that much money. It's quite hard, and even though let's say it can be a hit on YouTube, but YouTube hardly pays anything, and then if you haven't made numbers across the board, it's so that's an example from music. I don't know,
I think the difference with the documentary distributor and this distributor is the documentary people kept the costs very low. I don't think they had any costs after. The expense stuff. They had no other expenses. So I could still get money. And I think maybe because they gave me, they made me do all the things that they could have done, like poster. They say send a poster. They wanted it on DV-cam tape. They were like, if you can put it on, was it DV-cam? There was a certain kind of tape that they wanted it on. They say, either you do this or we do it here and then we bill you. I was like, no, let me do it. So I did it from Kampala for 50K. And they have charged me 500 euros.
Wow.
For the thing. So there was all those options that I got. But then for this other distributor, there were costs that were questionable. You've spent 1,000 euros on marketing materials, which you could have asked me to.
Well, not only that, but if they didn't recoup on those, then
Why?
yeah, and who is in charge of their marketing? You'll find out it's all one guy doing everything and paying himself, you know?
Yeah.
Could be.
So I don't know the reasons because they're a big name.
Let's go to the next distributor. Yeah.
The next distributor was worse. They didn't give you a minimum guarantee, but they were promising. They were like, this is good for TV. I mean, not TV, airlines. Like they told me we have, I think it was Ethiopian, Kenyan, and they're like, we are going to give them like this. Yeah, but for them, they asked for 3 years, and I've not seen any money. I've not seen. Wow. But yeah, it's expiring this year, and I'm not.
You flown Ethiopia because I think I saw the film there.
Was it?
I'm kidding.
No, you got me there.
Yeah, so that's it with distributors. But I think film distributors in Africa, I don't know, like you say, maybe it can just be a bad thing, or they are not very honest. I don't know, because it's a weird thing.
For me, the thing is that trust. Yeah. When you tell me, I don't know you, I know you're interested in making money, that just trust me, let me count the numbers for you, and I tell you when you're ready to get your cut.
No, but surely, yeah, you know, you're entitled to a more reasonable sales report. Yeah. And then also most of the contracts have a kind of clause about an audit in there. So you can request an audit if you suspect there's something dodgy going on. Yeah. But that's a bit of a gamble because I think you have to...
It's very expensive, yeah. You have to pay for the audit. And the company is in South Africa. I mean, so you have to pay South Africa.
Yeah, but I think...
So by the time you go into all the legalities of asking them, where have you sold my film? Can I see the books? You would have spent like $20,000-$30,000.
In theory, though, that those costs are on them. If it's found out that they were cheating you, they have to cover the costs. I saw that in our contract.
Yeah.
But, you know, we've had like a really interesting experience selling Imperial Blue, which, you know, we got reviewed by quite big people, you know, and we got reviewed by The Guardian and Mark Kermode on the BBC and stuff, you know. So we were like, people are going to be watching this. And yeah, we got like, but rather like you, the most money we ever made was from the MG, from the minimum guarantee. Well, look, I mean, it is what it is, right? And when a company puts down money for an MG, you know they're going to market it, right? And if it's online, it's going to be top of the algorithm in the right territory. If it's not, you know, if it's a cinema release or a TV release, the advertising is going to be intense because they've got to make their money back, you know? So I think the MG is kind of a guarantee that the company is going to be serious about marketing of the film at the beginning. But yeah, if there's no MG, they're pretty much leaning on you to do the marketing.
But I think the MG maybe depends on how much it is, because for some big companies, 2,000 is... Yeah. And I don't know why some of them like just want to have the catalogs. Yeah. And like, I don't know, but I think because like if you go on Netflix, they have a huge catalog and they will tell you, oh, you know, you can, for $13, you can watch all these, you know, but then a lot of their back catalogs, I mean, not back catalog, but a lot of the films there, because people say that Netflix is boring, you spend more time looking for what to watch than actually watching. So maybe these distributors also want to just have, you know, like, oh, we have all these films. And also the other thing that somebody told me is, because they own, not they own, but you give them a copy of the film, the master, okay, not master, but because we don't do masters anymore in digital, but still they have a print of your film, you know, in their archives. And so some of them, you know, they have like huge archives of African films with them. Yeah. And yeah, in future, I mean, that can be
a long-term bet as well, that this content could have some value in the future.
Maybe. I mean, I would say it's questionable how much money they're really making off like low-budget, unpromoted films, right? Yeah. Because unless it's someone like me who's like actively searching for Felistas Fable, who's going to come across it?
No. So,
no, go ahead.
I mean, so there is another way to look at it, right? All the filmmakers in Uganda, I have their catalog in my archive, right? And this guy makes the biggest film, right? So one of them becomes a really, really big star. And when they come to make a documentary about him, I'm the guy. That's when I collect. I think that's if you're paying 2K for a possibility that could happen, and you're maximizing on the number of pieces you have in your catalog. I think for me that's a good bet. I think that's what most of them actually are counting on.
Yeah, I mean,
I don't know. Maybe there is a way they make money off it, because there is seriously no person who will buy a very low budget film knowing they're not going to. There is an advantage that
It's like the music, right? It's like in music. You put your music out there and then Kanye West samples it, right? And it could be...
yeah, but what's the probability of that? I mean, like, so for example, like you're saying, let's procure, like imagine we're this distributor, let's procure a catalog. So we're going to get all of these old Ugandan movies. We're going to pay for each one of them 2,000.
Okay, I think Dilman got a good deal. They have so much they get for free. They get without the minimum guarantee as well, right? Yeah.
I mean, I guess, look, Felistas Fable, as we said earlier, was regarded as like an important Ugandan film at the time. So I think there's that. But moving on, why did you then decide to set up your own website? And how is that more peer-to-peer kind of closer networking going for you?
Yeah, I think I got frustrated with the system, the way it works, because I couldn't make any more documentary films, and of course the Nepali ones. After a while, of course, the revenue dries up. I think they stopped sending checks like 5-6 years ago. But with the international system, I made my second feature. 2017.
Sorry, what was that?
It was called Her Broken Shadow. It didn't do as well as Felistas, because maybe I made a mistake. I was looking more into getting into the festival run. Because after the experience with Felistas Fable, where I got a lot of feedback from programmers, I remember going to Cannes, not with the film, but to attend it. Berlin 2014, Cannes 2015, and I just talked to a lot of people, and they watched it and they're like, if you want to make it,
This is the style.
yeah, there's something art house-ish, because at that time that is what it was doing. So I go and do the Felistas, and I go and do Her Broken Shadow. With that in mind, there are these programmers, these are the kind of things that do, but I didn't want to deviate too much from my thing, which is science fiction, and so it's a science fiction about this woman who is stuck in one room, and she doesn't know if she's a real person or she's a creation of herself or something like that. It's a kind of a sit and talk film, basically. At that time, there was also a lot of these walkie-talkies, walk and talk, like the After Sunset. Before that was much earlier, but a lot of these films where people are just talking, sitting and talking, and it was kind of like that. But I made it like a murder mystery, and then it tanked. Like no festival even would screen it. Not the ones I was targeting, because I had contacts with some of the programmers, and they were like, no, like it was an outright no's. There was not even like, like. For example, if you submit to Berlin, the Berlinale, you can know how far your film went in the process by the time, according to the time you get the rejection. If it's before September, that means it's like no.
Big no.
So like the closer it is to the festival, then the more your chances. Yeah.
Being filtered.
So yeah, like I was getting it like very much in the very early.
It doesn't sound like it was a big budget film, so it wasn't a big risk for you.
Oh, it was actually a big risk.
Right.
I spent more on it than I spent on the Felistas Fable.
Really?
I mean, yeah. Though it was a one-person thing, I had to use a red camera, which was, of course, a different thing. And then the lighting, I tried to go like very cinematic, lighting it only with candles. There's all those things which, in art house film, people will be like, you shot it only on candlelight. I mean, film festivals will go crazy for that.
What would you do in retrospect? How would you remake that film? As a short?
Yeah, because that's the
Make it, actually, that's the question.
people who watched it, they kept telling me, oh, you could have just made a short film.
Yeah.
But anyway, after my experience with Felistas Fable, Her Broken Shadow, this is 2017. And yeah, I was really frustrated. But then at that time, YouTube, what happened in Room 13 was doing really well on YouTube. Actually made a lot of money from what happened in Room 13. This was before YouTube changed its algorithm and killed off a lot of things. But I kept getting also checks, and this was even way better than the
Did it had advertising attached to it? Yeah. So you had ad revenue switched on.
Yes,
Right from the start.
right from the start, almost. Yeah. At that time, YouTube, Uganda was one of the countries it experimented on with the ad things. And when we were starting out, the barriers were... No, they're still there. You had to have 1,000 subscribers and 4,000, I think, minutes. But it was not as hard as it is now. So, because I think they've added other things like you need to be putting out a film every 3 months or something like that. Like you have to make 3 uploads every 90 days. There's some other things they've added which have screwed up the algorithm. But yeah, at that time, it was doing the numbers and I was getting quite good money from YouTube. Every month, I will get between 300 and 400. The lowest was 300. It was not like I know people who are making 3,000 to 5,000 euros a month.
That's rare, man.
Yeah.
That's rare.
Yeah, but I mean, for those that are going viral, yeah. Even at that time,
To get from one short film to get $300-400 a month is fantastic.
yeah, that's what I was saying. Like,
That's like way more than you were earning off your NGO job. So you made the right decision. You quit and you were like, yes, I've done it.
but this was like 6-7 years later. So,
Takes a while sometimes.
so this was moving like between I think it started making money in 2013, 2012, up to 2016 when, getting that regular YouTube check. And then at that point, there was what they call the Adpocalypse. YouTube changed its algorithm. And so what happened in Room 13 was demonetized because it had a sex scene, like 3-second.
It's quite graphic.
It's not.
Yes, it is. It's graphic. I wouldn't show that to my kids, but it's good. No, I liked it. And you like sex scenes in African films.
Yeah.
It's good. It's a good sex scene. It's quite convincing.
So it got demonetized because of that. And there was this email I got, like, you can blight that part. But I was like, I don't know, it will kill the story.
I think it would kill the vibe.
Yeah.
Just put in the comment of blood for money.
And then...
It's brave. It's brave, though, because I wasn't expecting it at all.
Yeah.
So it's like you're watching it, like the film is kind of has a silent comedy vibe, like a Charlie Chaplin or a Buster Keaton sort of vibe to it. And then suddenly there's this quite graphic sex scene. And I was like, it actually really surprised me in a good way. Hats off, man. It's a brave move.
So I left it on and but then at that time I thought, there are many other ways of making money online. I tried actually, but then the thing with YouTube, like you had to keep, if I was to keep up that momentum,
The beast.
I had to make a film every week. And I was like, no, I can't burn my life like this, I tried. I made like 3 or 4 skits, but it was hectic. Like it was really hectic. And then I'm like, no.
So then...
Then around this same time, there are all these other platforms that come up. There was Patreon. And somebody pushed it to me. I think, no, they probably wrote to me an email. I don't know, they were looking for filmmakers, but I remember getting an email from somewhere. It most likely was Patreon. They're like, there's this new platform. It's like YouTube, but you can get paid up front if your fans like your film. Then I was like, oh, okay. And then this is the time when I also began looking more at crowdfunding. I tried crowdfunding in 2013 for the Felistas Fable, but it didn't work out. Only 2 people gave in. But then I started looking more at Patreon, and then I was like, oh, it's actually a model. And
I mean, crowdfunding and Patreon are unusual models for Uganda. Like when we crowdfunded for Imperial Blue, we got I think no donations from Uganda. And we got all of it came from Europe and a few friends in the US.
Because like majority, the last short film I crowdfunded for, only one Ugandan, she came to me and said, I want to give you money. How can I give it? I don't have a credit card. And I was like, send me on mobile money. And she sent me 60,000. So I'm like, oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, the vast majority of it comes from Europe. So Patreon, I'm still on Patreon.
I mean, is it same story? Like most of it coming from Europe or more people from Uganda?
Yeah, I think there were 2 or 3 Ugandans up to some point.
Yeah.
But they've dropped out.
What's the barrier? Why is it because people are broke, or is it the credit card thing, or
maybe a combination of those two, and also maybe because it's just not a culture here.
Right.
And a culture of crowdfunding.
Yeah. So go on, push back.
Weddings.
Yeah, I agree. Totally. Community. Yeah, and like funerals.
Yes, and funerals.
Yeah.
I think the language.
Artists, musicians do kind of offline crowdfunding all the time, right?
I think the language we use in film makes people think we are asking them to invest without them getting returns.
No, I think I think it's good you've mentioned the wedding thing, and because these are more, in a way, cultural, Somebody will be willing to give you money for your wedding, but not money for your business.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, because again, yes. Because we are looking at that kind of crowdfunding for film as a business. So if you have the language to make it look like a project, like a community project, I think you can sell it. Because I've seen people join, say, these secondary school groups. Just the guy joins today just to tell us that they lost someone. Yes. Yeah. And there is the guy manages to raise at least $1 million. It happens. The culture, I think, is there. We just haven't figured out the language yet, because that's something I've also tried to think about.
So it needs perhaps also either working through WhatsApp or like a really kind of specific language and framing.
Maybe what will change the game is a platform that actually says, you're raising money for weddings. Film weddings, or for art.
So you're suggesting fraud, basically.
Not fraud. No. Let me put it this way. The way people go for wedding meetings.
You approach it in that way.
Yes.
Yeah.
Then there is a local platform like Patreon, and then people know that, if you want to support your favorite musician, you can actually go to this platform and you give him the money. Yeah. Because the truth is, when people sing on stage, you see people coming to give them money.
That's what I mean.
It's a very generous culture. We just don't have the language. Because also the thing is, I think maybe starting a platform, like GoFundMe, where people are going to just put money online is not feasible. But you throw parties, you say... Yeah, like fundraiser parties, but you say, okay, I'm doing my project, this is how it's going to look like, this is why I'm doing it, and all that in your language. You come today for the meeting, for the first meeting. They come for the meeting, give them samosas, popcorn, and then start collecting money. I think that stuff works. And usually it's a guilting mechanism. Like, hey, make sure you commit to this, blah, 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 that shit. It works.
I think it can work, but I think also it's going to work very much on the individual levels, because on how you... Because that still happens. I know most people who do premieres, it's mostly family members who come to... Like there are 2 guys I'm mentoring. They did their thing last year. They got like 800,000. But was it last year or earlier? Last year. We are already in 2026. But I was like, whoa, 800K. You make back your money, because they had spent like 200 on the venue and maybe 100 on advertising on WhatsApp. And I was like, you've already made back, you've made like 600K. And I was even impressed. I was like, maybe I should borrow from them. But they're like, yeah, a lot of them are our relatives. But yeah, I think if you have something like that, but if the problem is that it's not sustainable, since your relatives can only support you so much, and also the amount of money you might need to make a film and to make it back will be way more than 800,000. Because
so there's this Kenyan model that's emerged, which is basically selling the premiere tickets in advance and using that to fund the film, right?
that is crowdfunding, basically.
Yeah, it's crowdfunding, exactly. But I suppose the difference is it feels more localized because crowdfunding has this abstract quality to it, where like literally just selling an advance ticket is a lot more concrete. So yeah, I mean, we included that in our crowdfunding campaign for Imperial Blue. But in the end, the crowdfunding campaign was a stepping stone towards the bigger funding, right? So the crowdfunding sort of generated interest in the film, so it worked as a promotional exercise. Then it also, once we had raised a little bit of money through the crowdfunding, we were then able to go to other investors and go, look, people are interested, people want to see this, yeah? It's immediately sparked interest in our kind of audience. So then people who were sympathetic, and they were already in our network, I won't lie, we didn't go out to like professional film investors. We were going within our network of investors. But they believed in it. And, you know, it didn't do so badly in the end. So it wasn't like we were, you know, asking them to bet on a miracle, you know? So, but the reason I'm talking about the Kenyan model of like selling the tickets in advance is I think that does work in this context because, yeah, it's like selling a ticket to anything in advance. It's difficult. People don't like buying tickets even to see Chameleon in advance, right?
Yeah, they want it like it's next month, and then you can plan for it.
You buy on the night, don't you? You buy in the queue.
Yeah.
But I think...
Which might take 5 years to make.
Oof. No, but I would say you'd have to do it towards like when the project's not far from completion, perhaps. And I think also Kenyans are better at planning. Sorry, they are.
But they also have
an organized culture, in my experience.
They also have some platforms that are really kicking off. For now, it's mostly...
Do you mean like was it called Mad Fans?
Oh yeah, there's the one, is it Changa?
But yeah, there's a bunch of them. I know what you mean. Yeah, they have some different interesting platforms.
Which, you know, I've even tried to get into one to do the crowdfunding.
Yeah.
But yeah, the fees were horrible, and then it's mostly a Kenyan thing.
Yeah. So we need something that's more specific for here.
Yeah, but also what these Kenyan platforms are doing, because of Safaricom and all that, it's very easy for someone to... Yeah. And even South Africa, I know they have all these platforms for crowdfunding, but you know it's working very much in South Africa. So if we have a platform like that in Uganda, and then it gains traction and people know, oh, this platform is for supporting artists.
So why don't we have a chat with MTN? No, it's very doable. Okay, so we have to kind of wrap up a bit, guys, because I'm going to miss my plane otherwise.
Oh, shit. Are you traveling today?
I am traveling in a couple of hours. So, what I really want to know is like, how is it working with your website, and how, like, is this a sort of sustainable long-term model?
I think it is, because from Patreon, what I discovered...
Tell us how it works first.
So first, my website is... it's my website.
But Dilman Stories.
There's Dil Stories, which is the company website. And then there's dilmandila.com, which is my personal website. Like I have many websites. Those are the two main ones. But there's this thing called the Fediverse. Yeah. It's called... It's a kind of social media, but...
Fediverse, F-E-D.
Yeah, like a federated universe. But it's kind of like Twitter, Facebook, and all that. But the difference is there is no corporation that owns the Fediverse. It's like an open source networking. It's actually a social networking thing, because Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, they have become social media in the sense that...
They've become corporate media in a way.
Yeah, but social media in the sense that media, you're consuming it.
Yeah, true.
Like with very little interaction. And if you're to interact, if you're to make it you have to feed an algorithm, and then you have to keep, because I remember at some point I used to every time I would watch how to beat the YouTube algorithm, what to put on your tags, what to put in your description. You have to play this mind game with the algorithm so that you try to convince it to show your video to what?
And everyone else is doing that as well.
And everybody else is doing the same thing. Yeah. So it became very frustrating. Yeah. But with the federated universe, it's basically social networking. There is no algorithm to push stuff on you. There you kind of sell yourself more than you sell your product. And so what happened, my blog is also on the Fediverse. There's plugins you can put on your blog and it becomes part of the that thing. Yeah. But maybe what I can say is when I share a blog post, you create a network with people who like a certain kind of thing. And I like sci-fi, I like fantasy, I like horror stuff. And there's a huge fandom, if you know, there's people who like this kind of things. So I'm also into VFX. So first, I quit all social media. Yeah. Facebook, I deleted. Twitter, I deleted. Instagram, I deleted. TikTok, I deleted. My company.
This is you've done this many times. You've run away from school. You quit your NGO job. Now you've deleted all your social media. What is it with you and Bridges? What have you got against Bridges? Why do you burn them all the time?
So I've left it on YouTube because YouTube is still kind of okay. Yes. And then, but all these other ones, because even with YouTube, it has never been one for interaction. It has always been for broadcasting yourself. So why I did this is because I found this other Fediverse. Mastodon is probably the more common name. So, and on Mastodon, I joined the server. The server is it's like a Facebook, but okay, imagine.
It's like a community within Mastodon.
Yeah. Okay, but Facebook is a server. Yes. You get? But it's a server that, everybody logs on and all that.
Oh, so Mastodon is a server within Fediverse?
No. Mastodon is it's like a language which servers use to communicate with each other. So on Mastodon, there are thousands and thousands of servers.
Discord.
But Discord is centralized.
So this is more distributed and more decentralized. Okay.
Yes. Yeah. So I joined a server which is called mograph.social, which is for motion graphics people who do VFX. And I was surprised to find there people they're big in the, some of them work in some of these big budget films you get about I'll see someone's bio and it's who I'm the one who did this in Spider-Man, that shot that when I was doing this, that was me. I was and I'm talking to this person. So that's the kind of thing that you get, on the Fediverse. So joining, of course, the right server, you can find those kinds of people in that network. But it's really less about you selling your product, It's more about you connecting to people. Yeah, so I joined it in 2022. And after 1 year, that's when I began deleting these other social medias because I was what am I doing this way,
Is this you join a really exclusive social club and you don't go to your local bar anymore?
Exactly, something like that.
Well, it would be more like not going to those horrible bars in Kololo anymore. Yeah, where everyone's taking pictures of themselves. Yeah, I get it. It makes sense.
Okay, so what I discovered in the Fediverse, there's a lot of artists and they are very anti-corporation and also anti-capitalism.
It's like the old internet.
Yeah, it's the Fediverse is very much the old internet, Yeah. I don't know if people who are watching will be old enough to have had things on MySpace, but it is like MySpace. It is easier to connect to people and to get...
And it's also not so crowded, I imagine.
Yeah, it is not so crowded because it is crowded in many ways, but it is also not so crowded. But it is not like Facebook where everybody is on it. So it's kind of a niche thing. But I think it's only in Africa where people don't know a lot about it. In Europe, it's big. And with what's happening now with big telecom companies telecom, big tech companies, siding with fascism. And so there's this big push to move away from corporate media. And so it's even getting bigger because people are like, I can actually own my followers. Yeah. Imagine you have a Facebook page with 1,000 followers, and then you don't like Facebook. You want to go to TikTok. And then you carry people who follow you, you carry them to TikTok. And you continue posting in TikTok, and the people who are following you on Facebook, they still find you on TikTok. That's kind of the analog that the Fediverse is. And so a lot of people are realizing, I can actually not own, but I can keep
It's closer to a real community in some way.
Yeah. So what has happened? Like I've made friends there, and I've made networks, and then people who see my films, when I put out a call like, I'm making the next film, the response is like, it blows my mind. I'm like, why? People are giving me money to make my next film, okay. And, like on Patreon, there's one time when I really I freaked out. Like somebody subscribed, it was the $50 subscription. Yeah. Like I didn't know the person because like the others who were on the $50, I knew them. I was like, this one, I know them. They're
my buddies. Yeah.
But this was a stranger, and I look up their name. I'm like, why are they giving me? This was like 2023.
You shouldn't be putting yourself down. Why do people like what I do? Of course they like what you do. Come on.
But yeah, that was the thing. Yeah, it freaked me out. And then recently also, the most recent crowdfund I did, people are giving me $100, $300, and they're strangers.
This is through the Fediverse, through your server on the Fediverse?
Yes.
And what is, is this a MoGraph or no?
Okay, MoGraph.social is just one of the thousands of servers. So if you want to join, just Google Mastodon.
I'm just curious as to what group you were kind of pushing through.
Like there's no group to push through. Like the moment you're in the Fediverse, you just share. And why? Because, I used to crowdfund like on Twitter, my Patreon on Twitter and Facebook. But because of algorithm, my posts will not go wide. Mm-hmm. Yeah, like people will not see what I'm putting out there that, look, I've made this thing. But now in the Fediverse, it's because there is PeerTube. It's like YouTube. And that's where I now put all my main films.
Is that embedded in your website?
Yeah, but PeerTube, like tv.dealstories.com. That's now my PeerTube server.
Right.
So I wanted to ask you about that PeerTube server. In terms of expense,
it's $8 a month.
$8 a month. Okay.
Yeah, it's good quality. I've been watching your short films through your website. Let's have a quick chat about Eve and about what that's leading into. So you've made this new short film called Little Red Eve. Mm-hmm. I believe the trailer's public, but the short film is not public yet. Is that you're going to put it out? What are you waiting for?
So with Little Red Eve, it's like the last kind of attempt I did for you remember I told you I tried to move away from the international film kind of distribution models. But I keep, you don't just burn the bridge all day. You keep trying. So it's the thing that we are trying to still look around, see if festivals will like it. And so far, not so good. It's about 1 year later. But Little Red Eve, I did it as kind of a proof of concept to myself and also to people, potential buyers, that I can make a film with like very high budget visual effects with very low money.
Yeah.
If you get the...
And it's good. The effects are awesome. Yeah.
And you will be surprised, like one of the places where I got advice was on the Fediverse. Because you remember I told you on MoGraph, there's all these people who are actually working in like Hollywood type kind of films. And I can always just message them and say, hey, I'm doing this. How can I do this? Or I can send them a thing I've done and say, can you give me feedback on this effect? Is it working? Is it believable? And then they look and say, oh, you should maybe try to work on the shadows, like things which a normal person will watch and say, oh, you've done good. But the guy will watch and say, this shadow is not believable because, look at, like I learned such very small refining details. Like if you look at this shadow, you'll think it's black, but when you try to recreate it on VFX, it might come off as it's reddish. It's supposed to be reddish. Yeah. And so those are the kind of small tips that I got. So I'm making another short proof of concept because with the Little Red Eve, it was for VFX interacting with human bodies. Yeah. So there was a butterfly landing on the skin, and I wanted it to be as believable as possible, like it bites and you see the blood and all that. So I'm making another film, which again I crowdfunded for through Mastodon, like the Fediverse. And this is a solar punk film. It's in the future. So the environment has to be the future. So what I'm going to do next is create buildings and vehicles and, like a futuristic film.
They create, you mean in real life?
On VFX, of course.
Are you using Blender? What are you using for your VFX?
I use Blender for VFX. And so after I do this other film, this solar punk film, then I'll now do my next feature film.
About the solar...
Yeah, so it's kind of a combination.
What's the elevator pitch for that movie?
The pitch is basically the same with Little Red Eve. It's about a woman in the near future who invents this technology that can make direct democracy a possibility. But it gets rid of central governments. So we no longer have central governments, we no longer have politicians, we no longer have ministers or anything, and people just run the country by themselves. So it's more like a decentralized country, and every village maybe is its own country within the village. So it's a bit of a concept.
That's actually for me extremely interesting. Yeah. Nice.
It's what Museveni promised us years ago, So it's a sort of anarchist utopia, like Afrofuturist film. Yeah, I mean, I'm in. I thought that the visual symbols in Little Red Eve were like really cool, and like that. I mean, some of it's like quite on the nose, as we say, in terms of imagery, like the nodding disease, but it's really effective, and it's both quite scary, quite funny as well, because they kind of look ridiculous, but then it's quite disturbing, And funnily enough, there were scenes in there that reminded me a little bit of Get Out in that way, like the way that Get Out is on this border of like uncomfortable border of horror and comedy, where you're like, you don't know whether to laugh or shiver. And it's good. And I thought Little Red Eve was excellent. I thought the VFX were really good. I like the way that you've maintained your kind of some of the visual language from your earlier filmmaking, like quite long artistic shots at times. I didn't get bored though. I was watching it and the story rattles along, it moves along. But why not just put it out online? I mean, you've done the festival attempts. Just bang it out online, man. Get more attention, Someone will see it and give you some money.
Because it's going to spoil the feature film.
Oh, it's got spoilers?
Yeah. I mean, because the short film is kind of it summarizes the plot of the feature film.
Right. But it's not.
Usually people do that by the way, where you say the feature film is based on the short film, and it's actually easier to sell the feature film.
When I shot that short film, I shot a quarter or like almost a half of the feature film. So there's like two storylines in the feature film. There's the storyline of the village that is, creating this tech utopia, the solar punk kind of thing. And then the other storyline is, of course, a bad dictator who does not want to lose that power. I mean, and so they try to create disaster for the village.
Can I ask, one extraordinary thing about what you're doing is you've got these very, very ambitious ideas, and you're not going but with very low budgets, but you've not gone down the kind of Hollywood route, which is to kind of sort of lean into the low budget I would almost call primitive aesthetic. And my issue is not so much with Isaac himself, the founder of Wakaliwood, but there is an audience out there that watches Wakaliwood and is laughing kind of at it, not with it. And that's sad, when you watch some of these like South Korean reaction videos laughing at Wakaliwood or any of the reaction videos, I feel awkward. And, when I talked to Isaac about this, he kind of felt like he wanted to like make films with bigger budgets. He wants to make proper, well-made action films, but he leans into the kind of idea of low-budget action as a comedy device, right? But you're not doing that. You're doing something quite different, which is and I think in Little Red Eve, I saw this. I wish more people could see it. That's why I'm frustrated, because the effects are really, really good. These are genuinely like, I was like so surprised. I was like, how is he doing that? Because I know that you've got a very low budget. And then, but there are other aspects of the film where I feel like maybe, you would like to get into a bigger budget space, right? I mean, is this sort of part of your longer term plan? I mean, you clearly don't want to just be making films on your pocket money for the rest of your life, right? What would you is part of your plan to sort of basically create a bridge to a bigger funding world, bigger funding sector?
I don't know. I think the way the world is going, it's going to go more decorporate, in the sense that, because if you're going for bigger budgets, that means you're going for Hollywood, you're going for studio, you're going for that kind of, world. But with what's happening in the US, I don't think that's a model that's going to last very long, because there is this backlash against certain companies from the US. So I'm not sure things like Netflix are going to okay, maybe let me not go there, because I'm not very informed.
What about bigger budget indie films?
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
This maybe what I'm trying to say is this. The world is going to go more to creators, to support creators. Like the Patreon model or the crowdfunding model, where you have people directly giving you the money to make the film. I know of a big name writer called Brandon Sanderson. Like, he's really huge. I think I've mispronounced his name. But he recently did a Kickstarter and he raised like 40 million. And he's one person who quit like the big publishers and he said, I'm going to be publishing my own books. He was already a big name. It's like the guy of Game of Thrones, Martin, deciding I'm no longer working with the publishers, I'm doing it my own. So that's where the creative industry is going. And as the big tech guys and the corporates, they push towards AI, and there's a huge backlash against AI. So a lot of people are going to be looking for creators who are genuine, like who are human, and who can put on their, made 100% with humans. Mm. So what I'm looking at in my long term, I know I might probably, if Netflix comes and says, here is money, make a film, I probably won't say no. Or if, the big, I probably won't say no, but I don't think I'm aiming for that. I'm more aiming for this space where I have enough people who are aware of my films and who, when I say I'm making the next film, I need $10,000. Can you get it? I can raise that money from, just people.
Wouldn't you want to be in a space where your next film is like $200,000?
That might reach. I might get there from just the small crowdfundings, but I want to get there without, like this huge budget investments, because I think it is possible to get to the 200,000 from just, more and more people just being aware of your films. Like, I share my film, The Night Dancer. I actually kind of used The Night Dancer to fundraise for the next film I'm doing. I think I raised about $3,500.
Yeah, if I'd really like Night Dancer. That. Yeah. I was really excited after seeing the trailer, and it didn't disappoint. It's another zero dialogue masterpiece from Dilman Dila, and it's genuinely really creepy. And it completely changes the original meaning of the Night Dancer myth, which I really liked. And it also...
Wait, why did you say myth?
Well...
Mythology. No.
Are you trying to scare me?
No. Okay, this is the thing about myths. You know, when we talk of a myth, we think of, it's false. But there's myth in the sense of mythology. In the sense that because there is Christian mythology. There is the Islamic mythology. I mean, there is European mythology. So in our mythology, in the sense that there are things we believe in which are beyond.
It's in the tapestry of Uganda. You know, it's woven into the. I mean, it's such a universal myth or story in Uganda that, and also it comes true, right? So people either because the myth comes to inhabit them, or because they want to tap into some power that they think is associated with it, they start becoming night dancers. And if anyone in the audience has got no idea what a night dancer is, watch Dilman Dila's short film. It's freely available on your website, right? So we'll put the link under the YouTube. It is a very creepy, fantastic, and again, for me, mixing horror and comedy in a clever way.
I don't know why people keep saying there's comedy there.
Didn't you? I found bits of it. Or I mean, not
People laugh. Some of it is funny, but I don't think funny in a way that it's a comedy, right?
No, it's not like a genre comedy film, but it's not. Nor is it a kind of like straight-faced, terrifying horror film in the classic way. But there's definitely humor in there. I think you can't get away from it. You can't get away from comedy. That mental was right.
It's just the style, I think.
Some people tell me, they laugh. There's a part where they do laugh. Yeah. But some of that laughter is like, the relief of the person getting justice.
True.
Without spoiling the film. But at the end of the thing, there's some kind of justice.
Definitely, yeah. It's a morality fable. Yeah, I really enjoyed it. So, check out Dilman Dila's website. Check out his short films that are available there. Follow him on the multiverse, the Fediverse. And I'm really excited to see what happens when you have a bigger budget. I also think you should think about, don't turn your back on the normal distribution models, because that when they work well, they can work really well. And I think, to complement what you were saying, I really like the idea of a kind of creator-driven financing future. I think that's a really beautiful vision. And in some ways, your new films feed into that, because they're about kind of decentralized utopias. So that, hopefully this can all come true at the same time. But I think at the moment I would advise doing both, so try and get the distribution.
I think with the next feature film, I'm still going to try the festival thing. But there's the thing of not putting your eggs in one basket. But there's also the thing about reading the room and seeing where things are going. So what I'll do with the feature film, of course, I'm going to make the next short film, which I'll release again publicly, because it's not going to spoil the feature film. I should have done that for Literary Div, but So I'll make that film, and then I use it to fundraise for the feature film. And then I'll try the programmers, I'll try the festivals, and if it fails, there are other ways of trying to sell the film online without making the thing. And hopefully, the people who will contribute to it, because the problem also sometimes with crowdfunding is you crowdfund for a film, and then it gets maybe to Netflix or something like that, and then it is locked in, And then the people who contributed to it cannot share a link and say, "Oh, I like this film."
Yeah.
Can you get?
I wanted to actually mention about where I also think Netflix is probably going to fail in the future is the fact that discovering content there is almost impossible, right? At some point, the catalog is going to be too big that they don't know how, if you have your movie there, it's like a graveyard, unless you're one of the best.
It is already like that, because, I don't know, people try to get into Netflix, but the truth is most filmmakers I know in Europe and America, they think of Netflix as a last resort.
Well, it's the end of the tale,
Yeah.
isn't it? It's after you've done cinema, then you've done like a window, an exclusive window with someone like Amazon. It goes through these stages, and then one person used the phrase, "Then we'll bury it on Netflix." That's what they said. So yeah, it's the graveyard. One of you said that a minute ago. I still like it. I still, and I think if you managed to get your film on Netflix, it's still a huge source of pride. I mean, come on, think about Girl in a Yellow Jumper in Uganda. Everyone was like, "We got a film on Netflix," But as you say, for an American producer, it's like, oh God, my film went straight to Netflix. Listen, I'm going to wrap up here. Last words, Kenneth?
No, I mean, I'm very, very happy that we've had this conversation. I think we align ideologically. I'm also very decentralized. Utopia vision.
Bloody anarchists. Look, okay, when I've got my big distribution company, I'm not going to sign you rebels. Anyway, yeah, very, very nice to see you again after all these years. I don't know why we lost contact, but let's make sure we stay in touch.
Like the world, this way it just becomes so big when it is even very small. Even like Cyril, I don't know the last time I talked.
Yeah, he's around. But yeah, so I'm going to say again, watch Dilman Dila's films on, and can you say the website to camera?
Oh, the website is tv.dillstories.com.
You can find it here.
Yeah, find it in the comments section. Dilman Dila, so nice to have you on The Real Africa.
Thank you. Nice to have you as well.
No, thank you. Thank you for making the time.
Yeah.